I have a roof rack off of a 2003 to 8 Pontiac Vibe. It's got a nice hollow center to it. And what we're going to do is modify the leading edge to allow us to install our choice of light. And what I've already done is already drilled a series of holes so we can affix our light. Since the bar is aluminum, I use stainless steel hardware to mount the lights. If you use regular metal, it would just rust away as it oxidizes with the aluminum. Also, where the wires go in, I sealed around that with silicone. I've made the hole large enough for the wiring, plus 2 layers of heat shrink on top of the wiring where it goes into the hole. For this, I've used a standard trailer plug, in this case a 5-wire, so I could make some extra functions into the bar. I now have the lights mounted to the roof rack cross member. I've put them far enough to the end where I could run the wires out and make the connections and then the programming adjustments, and then the wire runs all the way through to the other end and then more connections. I left it open to show, but all I have to do is heat shrink the connections and accordion fold it into the end of the bar. Now for a test of the bar. For the bar, I wanted a center white light, but wasn't sure if I wanted to permanently mount it, so I had the flexibility to adjust it later. So in this case, I've used a ram mount with a adjustable pivot, so I can adjust the light once it's onto the car. This will allow me to move it up and side to side. I've also ran the wire through a 2-conductor trailer plug, double heat shrink into the bottom of the bar. To determine which way the carrier goes, there's a raised arrow on the top surface. I have the cross member here ready to reassemble, so I'm taking a toothbrush, clean out the inside of the end cap as well as along the track here, and that'll allow it to work a lot more efficiently once you put it back on the car. Once you put the end cap on, take the screws, and then I use a product called fluid film to put on the threads, and then thread them into the cross member, help prevent corrosion as the slotted end, and it allows it to play so you can move the roof bar without it binding into the actual rails. You can actually take and tighten them down all the way and it'll still have this slide in it. Taking a screwdriver, you pop the 2 caps off the end of the handlebar. Then there's 2 10mm bolts which you take out with a wrench, and they're quite long. I mounted the bar and have my connector together and tucked up under the bar. I went ahead and drilled a hole about 1/2 inch from the edge here where the plastic lip is. I put a piece of tape down before I drilled so I didn't scratch the metal or anything. On this car I had to stay close to the edge due to the sunroof, which has a rail for both the cover and the glass slides back. If you wanted to go further away from the edge, you'd have to go to the rear of the car where there's no rails. I can't show you exactly where the wire comes out at without damaging the headliner, but it is very tight and there's some metal and other things in there, so you do have to work at it to get the wires to make its way to the edge of the headliner. I've got my wires ready to run, but as you can see, if I just ran them individually, it'd be kind of a spaghetti mess. So what you do is put one end in a vise and chuck the other end up in your choice of drill, pull them nice and tight, and then have at it. And then you get a nice streamlined wire that's a lot easier to pull and make connections on. I've run the wires along the headliner and across the A-pillar and then down behind the dash, where I've already started wiring up the switches. I've got my 2 switches here already wired up. They're kind of small, but for my application they didn't need a lot of power, so these are rated about 3 amps each. And I've already pre-drilled the holes back here. I checked back here to make sure there was nothing behind it, no wires or anything. I've got the switches mounted under the hood release, and I've run my ground to this bolt that holds part of the dash together. And I've run my wires and also made sure to label them, so if I have to come back, I know where everything's at. As is, and then with the light on,